Seas that are shaken and stirred can be calmed and broken from miry God. And through it all, my eyes are and through it all, is
Good morning, everyone. My name is Kyle. Welcome to Discovery Church, and thanks for spending part of your weekend with us. Grab your coffee or donut, come on in and find a seat. We'll get started with the service in just a few minutes. Before we do that, we want to let you know what's happening. First up is a great opportunity to find a group of people just like you that you can be like you.
If you want to get connected in community at DCC, then GroupLink is the event for you. GroupLink is a relaxed, open house style environment full of friendly people who would love to help you find the right group for you. You'll have the opportunity to check out all the different groups available at DCC. If you see a group that interests you, then get to know the leaders. They would love to talk to you. Plus, it's a good chance for you to figure out if they're a weirdo. If you find any groups that you think are a good fit for you, all you have to do is get signed up. We hope that you will join us for GroupLink on January 29th at 6:30 because life happens in circles, not rows.
You want to come to GroupLink tonight, and we really hope that you do. It would help us out a lot if you would let us know that you're coming. The easiest way to do that is through the DCC app. So pull out your phone, get signed up right now, and we'll see you at GroupLink. Next up, if you're a guy, then you're going to want to pay close attention. Yes, we know that that's Mother's Day weekend, so we'll make sure you are all done by lunch on Saturday so you can get back plenty of time to hang out with the moms. So put this event on your calendar right now, ask for time off work, do whatever you need to do to make sure that you can be there. We've made this super easy for you. Just go to the Events tab on the DCC app, tap Men's Retreat, then the calendar icon, and it'll add it directly to your calendar. Believe me, the DCC Men's Retreat is the best event for guys that we do all year, and you're not going to want to miss it. If you want to stay in the loop with what's going on at DCC, make sure to download our app. It's got so many useful features packed into one convenient location. We would also love to connect with you on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. We still have people coming in, so if you don't mind, please move towards the middle of your row and make room for them to find a seat. That's it for this week, so please stand up and join us for worship.
There is a fountain that drowns sorrow. There is a
This is amazing grace. This is unfailing love. That you would take my place, that you would bear my cross, that you laid down your life so that I would be set free. We're going to move into this time of communion. And this is where we remember that we've been rescued, that we've been redeemed. This is that time where we remember that the last 6 hours of Jesus' 33 years on earth, he spent hanging on a cross in between two criminals. And when it was completed, he let out with his last breath, "It is finished." His last breath and his last words were our first words. And where he died, we came to life. Our worship, our joy, our salvation, our hope, everything in this place is rooted in that one phrase. And without that, we don't have the same song to sing. Because his last word was our first word, and his last breath was our first breath. So what's going to happen is some trays are going to come up and down the aisles with a little wafer and a cup of juice. Take one of each of those and take them on your own time. We're not going to come back up and do it all together. But let this be a moment where you remember those last words that he let out for us. He knew what you were going to do before you did it, and he still said, "It is finished," and hung on that cross. And if you're new here, you're going to hear some cracking of the cups around the room. And this is our way of saying and celebrating that it is finished, that it's done, that the old order of things has passed away. And if this all just seems crazy and uncomfortable to you, then you can just pass the tray on. There's no shame in that. No one's going to condemn you for that. So would you just join with me in prayer and let's enjoy this meal together. Jesus, thank you for your amazing grace and your unfailing love, for taking my place, for taking our place on that cross, dying for my sins, dying for our sins, knowing what we would do before we did it. Jesus, we love you. We are so thankful for you. I pray that we will remember this moment. I pray that we will remember those words, that phrase, "It is finished." Jesus, we love you, and we ask this in your holy and precious name. Amen. deliverance from my enemies till all my fears are gone. I'm no longer a slave to fear, 'cause I am a child of God. I'm no longer a slave to fear. Yes, I am a child of God. From my mother's womb, you have chosen me. Your love has called my name, and I've been born again into your family. Your blood flows through my veins, and I'm no longer a slave to fear. Yes, I am a child of God. I'm no longer a slave to fear. Yes, I am a child of God. And I'm no longer a slave to fear. 'Cause I am a child of God. I'm no longer a slave to fear. Yes, I am a child of God. I am surrounded by the arms of the Father. I am surrounded by songs of deliverance. We've been liberated from our bondage. We're the sons and the daughters. Let us sing our And I'm no longer a slave to fear. Yes, I am a child of God. I'm no longer a slave to fear, because I am a child of God. You guys can have a seat. Jesus, thank you. Thank you for making us your children. God, thank you for pulling us out of our slave ways. God, thank you for rescuing and redeeming us. We love you. It's in your name. Amen.
So hey there, good morning. Hey, welcome to this crazy place that we call DCC. It is so good. We're so pumped and jazzed and excited that you're here. So good to have you with us. That's always true in this place, but it's especially true if you're brand new. And if that's you, 3 things we want you to know before we say anything else this morning. The first one is this: all of your stories safe and welcome here, regardless how it reads. It's true every single week. You belong with us. Ooh, you belong with us. That's one of those old man sounds that just come out. I don't know what it... It's terrible. Don't get old. I'm just saying that. All right, so let me try it again without that. All right, so you belong with us regardless of what you believe, even if it's not what we believe. And you're in a room today full of people just like you. We really hope that you feel that and you experience that. Those are just words that come out of my mouth, that you've already felt that and you've experienced it in your time here with us today, and you already want to come back and do this again with us in the future, hopefully even next week. So special warm welcome to you if you're brand new, and of course, special hey and welcome to all of our friends who are tuning in right now too. You know, about 2 weeks ago, it was a Saturday night. My daughter Spence, my third daughter Spence. So if you don't know, I have 4 daughters. Pray for me. I have 4 daughters, and so I've been in a sorority house now for like 25 years. Pray for that. So anyway, my third daughter Spence, she plays basketball at Pine Creek High School. She's a senior there. And they had a game in town. It was an away game, but it was in town. A game they should have won pretty big, but it ended up being really, really close. And the team didn't play well, and Spence, she didn't play very well either. And I talked about it a little bit before heading into the season this year. She dislocated her left kneecap about 6 or 7 weeks before the season started, recovered, and then about 3 or 4 days before the season started, did it again. And so she wears this pretty bulky brace on her left knee. And then about a week before this particular game, a couple weeks ago, she sprained her right ankle. So she's wearing an ankle brace on this leg, knee brace on this leg. On top of that, she has a cold. I'm not making excuses, but it was kind of tough, and so we win the game barely, and all of that. And you know what I love about my girl is I've seen her warrior princess heart on display more this season than I've ever seen it before. She's playing at about 50%, 55% of total health and strength, and she's just a warrior. She's gutting through it. So my oldest daughter, Sydney, we call her Sid. My oldest daughter, Sid, she came down from North Denver. She and her husband Keith and my grandson Decker came down to spend the day with us, go to the game, then have dinner afterwards. So here's a recent picture of my grandson if you haven't seen him lately. Yeah, that's him. Oh, yeah, he looks just like his grandpa, doesn't he? You're like, no, don't even see a resemblance. All right, shut up. I don't like you either. So anyway, So anyway, they came down to spend the day with us, and they're going to go to game and all that. And it was also the day for the grand reveal of, so my daughter Sid's expecting our second grandbaby. So it's time for the grand reveal. And so we found out that day that we're going to have a little warrior princess in the fold now. We're going to have a granddaughter. Yeah, that's awesome. There she is. There she is. She's sucking her thumb. I don't know if you can see that, but there she is. I mean, look at that. She's already better looking than your grandkids. It's amazing. It's just amazing. Sorry about that. I get carried away sometimes. So anyway, so we have this game, doesn't go well, come home, we're going to eat dinner, and Spence is upset because the game didn't go well and all that. So she goes up to get a shower, and we're downstairs. And so her older sister decides she's going to go up and check on her little sis and make sure she's okay. And then Stace goes up, my wife goes up, check on her. They come down a little bit, and they say, you know what, you're going to need to go up there. I'm like, oh, okay, here we go. So you never know what you're quite walking into as a dad of daughters. And so I walk into the bedroom. Sure enough, there she is on her bed, hands over her eyes, crying her eyes out. And I'm like, hey, babe, what's going on? And so we started talking, and she was a mess. She was a mess. And so I started pushing in and asking some questions, and she just started talking about how she just feels so, life just has been feeling flat to her and empty and unfeeling, unsatisfying. And she just kind of feels like she's losing motivation, not just in basketball. It's so much bigger in basketball, just in life in general. And so I'm sitting here, and I'm talking to my girl, and I realize, man, she's just losing heart. You know what that was for me? It was an opportunity for me to practice what I preach. It was an opportunity that moment for me to practice what I preach. See, I just preached the week before that we got to chase after less religion and more Jesus in our lives. And I was getting ready to get up in about maybe 10 hours after we're having this conversation and tell you we need to dive into our stories. And we got to discover our stories. And we got to understand the things that have been said to us, done to us, and said about us, and the significance of that. We got to invite Jesus into that so he can come and provide some healing. There's healing that needs to take place there. So this is an opportunity in front of me with my girl right there in that moment to practice what I preach. And so we started talking about stuff. We started talking through stuff. We started diving into stuff. And then I prayed for her and with her. And then we went downstairs and things seemed to be better. And in the end, over the course of conversations with her coaches who love her as a person way more than a player, and they had great conversations with her. We did. Mom and Dad have continued to, and in lots of prayer, she's getting better. She's really getting her heart back. And here's the thing. The trajectory, that stuff has changed the trajectory of the chapter that was already trying to be written in her young life this year. And if you haven't been here before, that's what we've been talking about in this series that we're in called Chapter 2017. We're operating under this theory or this idea that all of us, right, that actually in some way or another in all of our lives, no exception to this, none of us really want this to be another year of more of the same. Whether it's occupationally or relationally or financially or educationally or with our health, I could go through a bunch of stuff. None of us, in some area of our lives, we don't want this to be another year of more of the same. We want this to be a different kind of year in some area of our life, and we've been talking now for 3 weeks about how we do that. And if you want to go back and watch and listen, you can, but here's the deal. So I'm thinking about that, and I'm thinking about wrapping up this series today, and I realized, you know what, I don't think we've really talked about this part. And it points to the vision of this church. We want to redefine Christian. We want to change what people think when they hear the word Christian. People outside the walls of the church, when they hear Christian, we don't want them thinking hate or condemnation or judgment or legalism or hypocrisy or mean or whatever it is they're thinking. We want them to think words like love and compassion and acceptance, those kind of things. So we want to change. We want to change what people think when they hear the word Christian outside the walls of the church. But then, as I was thinking about wrapping up this series, I thought about this. I thought, you know what? Maybe Christian needs to be redefined too for the very people who already call themselves that. I think we might be missing that. See, it's not about coming up with a new definition. It is simply about getting back to the definition that Jesus started with in the first place. If you and I really want to write a different kind of chapter in our lives this year, I'm telling you, we need to talk about that. And so that's what I want to spend the rest of our time together today doing as we wrap up this series. We're going to Matthew chapter 14. So Matthew 14, if you brought a Bible, hey, get it out. Turn to Matthew 14. If you want a Bible, hey, they're on the back tables, but it's a little bit hard to get there, especially if you're up front. Grab one, take it home with you today. Love for you to have it. You can hit our app on your phone. You can hit YouVersion. You can read off that piece of paper, or you can just ignore it and read with me on the screens. Matthew 14, starting with verse 22. Here we go. Immediately, Jesus made the disciples get into the boat and go on ahead of him to the other side while he dismissed the crowd. And after he had dismissed them, he went up on a mountainside by himself to pray. Later that night, he was there alone, and the boat was already a considerable distance from the land, buffeted by the waves because the wind was against it. Okay, let's stop right there. So the verse we read today starts with immediately. So anytime you see these kind of words, you really should see what's before that. So go read Matthew 14 this week, and here's what you're going to see. Immediately after what? Or immediately before what? Immediately before this moment, here's what you're going to see. Jesus took a few pieces of bread and a few pieces of fish, and he did this miracle. He fed like 5,000 plus people. And it was amazing. And these guys who he's putting into this boat were the guys that got to hand out all the food, which had to be incredible. In fact, it was so incredible that if you read the story, the crowd around Jesus wanted to make him king right there on the spot, wanted to have an inauguration. Let's do it right here. And I can't prove it, but I think that one of the reasons why Jesus puts the disciples in the boat here is because he knew they were into that. He knew they liked that idea, because if Jesus becomes king, I become what? If I'm one of the people closest to Jesus, I become royalty. If I'm a disciple, I'm sitting here saying, that sounds pretty good to me. And then Jesus says, nope, you're going to get in the boat. You're going to go there. I'll meet you over there. So he sends them on their way. But let's face it, they may be a little bit disappointed that Jesus is not becoming king in this moment. But they have to kind of be basking in the glow of what just happened. I mean, if you think about it, it's a pretty good day to be a follower of Jesus, isn't it? Yeah, it is. It's a pretty good day to be a follower of Jesus until what? Until they get about 3.5 miles, that's what John says, about 3.5 miles out into the Sea of Galilee, and they're rowing and rowing and rowing, and the boat's going nowhere. They're rowing harder and harder and harder, and the boat's going nowhere. Stop. Okay, here's the question. Does life in the church ever feel that way to you? That's the question I think we need to ask ourselves today. I'm rowing, I'm trying. But this boat seems to be going nowhere. I want us to start with this today, okay? It's okay for us to admit this in church. All right? The boat we are in often seems to be going nowhere. Now, that could apply across the board in our lives. We could talk about our marriage boat. Yep, marriage is flat, it's dead, it's not going anywhere. We could talk about our health, we could talk about our finances, we could talk about our occupation, our education. Listen, today, I want us to zero this in. I'm talking about the church boat. The church boat that we're in often feels like it's going nowhere, and it's not about effort, because we are really trying. We're rowing harder and harder and harder, employing all the tips and techniques that we've been taught in the church to do. We're reading our Bibles, and we're studying our Bibles, and we're memorizing our Bibles, and we're journaling, and we're attending church like we never have before, and all those things are what? They're all good things, but we're rowing really hard, and we're trying, but we just kind of feel stuck. We feel like we're not going anywhere. It just feels like we're not moving. I think we all get to these kind of points in our lives, and it's confusing for us, isn't it? Yeah, it is. It's confusing. Why? Because we're trying to dive into our story. We're flushing that stuff up. Things have been done to me, said about me. Here it is. We're discovering our story, excavating. Here it is. We're inviting Jesus into that, and healing's taking place. We're doing that. We've experienced Jesus. We put our faith and trust in Jesus, just like we talked about. We talked about the first part in week 2. Week 3, we said we got to experience Jesus. I've done that. I put my faith and trust in Jesus. I've gone forward. I confessed and repented. I've been baptized to tell the whole world, hey, Jesus is my Lord and Savior. Boom. We've done everything that we know to do. But the boat seems to be going nowhere fast. You ever felt like that in church, in this life of following Jesus? And the answer is yes, me too. And it's confusing to us, and it's frustrating to us too, because it seems like I'm exactly where Jesus wants me to be, where Jesus told me to be. You know what I wonder as I think about this point that we all tend to hit in our lives of trying to follow Jesus? I wonder if we're seeing the boat correctly. I just wonder if we're seeing this boat correctly. This boat that Jesus has pointed us to, this boat that Jesus says, hey, get in that boat, the boat that Jesus has put us into with all these Jesus followers nestled around us. I wonder if we see the boat correctly. If we see it for what it's supposed to be, what it's really intended to be. Maybe this will help us think about that. Watch this. There's a huge distinction there, isn't there? Yeah, when I'm on a cruise ship, I'm the customer, I'm the client. It's all about pleasing me. When I'm on a cruise ship, I am the mission. But if I'm going to be on a battleship, I had better be on mission. And see, all of our hearts are Jesus and God's. They're God's primary mission. But the life that every single one of us came in here chasing after today requires us to live on mission. I just finished reading a book. It's called All the Gallant Men. It's written by one of the 5 remaining survivors of the USS Arizona in Pearl Harbor. He lives here in Colorado Springs. His name's Donald Stratton. His son Randy is a friend of mine. It's an amazing story. You know the story of Pearl Harbor. He was on a battleship, and yet we weren't ready. We were surprised by the attack. They were on a battleship, but they weren't battle ready. They weren't on mission at the moment that the Japanese hit. We just sang a song a few minutes ago, and I love the song. I'm no longer a slave to fear. I'm a child of God. It seems like you like that too from your response. But here's the thing. There's a line in that song that I absolutely love. I love it, and it troubles me at the same time. You rescued me so I can stand and sing. I am a child of God. You rescued me so that I can stand and sing. And my experience has been this. We're really good at that part in the church. But the truth is, God rescued me also so that I could help him rescue others. This is core value we have in this place. We call rescued. To be rescued myself and to continue to be rescued as I help rescue other people. I got it tattooed on my arm in Hebrew. It's a big part of this church. And here's the significance of this. If we miss the second half of that to be rescued, then to rescue piece, we are going to often feel like, and let's get back to the story. We're going to feel like we are rowing without any results. Just like the disciples in this moment in this story. Let's keep reading here. Verse 25. Shortly before dawn, Jesus went out to them walking on the lake. So when the disciples saw him walking on the lake, they were terrified. It's a ghost, they said, and they cried out in fear. But Jesus immediately said to them, take courage, it is I. Don't be afraid. Lord, if it's you, Peter replied, tell me to come to you on the water. Come, he said. Then Peter got down out of the boat, walked on the water, and came toward Jesus. But when he saw the wind, he was afraid. And beginning to sink, he cried out, Lord, save me. So they think they've seen a ghost in this moment. They cry out in fear. And Jesus said, chill out, guys. It's me. And once Peter hears that, he's like, Jesus, if it's you, there I go again. Let me come out of the boat. Let me walk on the water to you. And Jesus says, come on out. He invites him to do that. Now, here's the thing. When we typically read the story here, from the moment Jesus says, come, the camera goes to Peter. And we watch him climb out of the boat. And then the rest of the scene that plays out for us, we watch Peter with Jesus, and this whole thing happen until they get back in the boat. I want us to take the camera off of Peter and Jesus for a minute and shift it back over here to the boat. Because, Peter gets out of the boat. But where do the remaining 11 disciples, followers of Jesus, remain? Right there in the boat. I'm telling you, there is so much application for so many of us in this moment in the story. So let's just go ahead and go there. You ready for this? The truth is, here we go, the majority of us never leave the boat. The majority of us never leave the boat. The majority of the disciples in this moment prefer the safety and security of the boat over the mess outside the boat where the winds and the waves are. And if we're truthful about our lives, come on, and we dive in and we look behind the scene and we make an honest assessment of our life, even our life of trying to follow Jesus, most of us prefer to stay in the boat too. You could read this story. You could really read this story. If you think about it, you could read this story and say the 11 made the better decision. You really could. If you grew up in a church environment like I did, here's what you may have experienced this. I don't ever remember this being said, but this was kind of my takeaway. It wasn't taught, but it was caught by me. Peter is the disciple that you least want to be like. I think we can see that. Why? Because Peter made mistakes all the time. Even after he followed Jesus. Jesus looked at him one time and said, get behind me, Satan. Yikes, Jesus calls you Satan. That's not good, right? Peter cuts off a dude's ear, and Jesus says no, and Jesus takes the ear and puts it back on. He's like, we're not going to do that, Peter. Right? Peter's the one that denies Jesus 3 times. He's impetuous. He's impulsive. He's always putting his foot in his mouth. And so it's easy. You start reading the stories like, these 11 guys, they might make the right decision here. I mean, who wants to leave the comfort and security and safety of a perfectly good boat? Not most of us. You know what most of us want? Most of us would prefer that Jesus join us in the comfort of the boat rather than stepping out of the boat into the mess where he is with him in the world around us. It's just true. And we see it in the church, don't we? We huddle up. We just huddle up. We kind of insulate ourselves and shut the doors. Right? And we seek relationships with people who believe what we believe and people who are just like us. We isolate ourselves, right, from people out there who are in need of the help and hope that we ourselves have experienced with Jesus. But that's safe, and that's uncomfortable, and that's just freaking messy. And they struggle with things that we don't understand and all that. It just feels safer and cleaner and easier in here, doesn't it? Yes, it does. And that's why what? That's why most of us never leave the boat. But here's where this thing breaks down for us. We talk about trusting God. We talk about trusting God, and here's the ironic thing, okay? We expect to learn to trust God without ever putting ourselves in a position to really ever do that. Think about it. We expect to learn, I'm going to trust God. I'm going to trust God more without ever allowing ourselves to be put in a position where we really, really have to do that. You ever struggle with that? Does it ever look like your life? Me too. Me too. About 15 years ago or so, I left to practice the law to go into ministry. I'd been in a courtroom for like 10 years. So when I left to practice the law to go into ministry, there were lots of people who just looked at us like, wow, you just have such tremendous faith and trust for us to leave the life that we had and the lifestyle and all of that to go. And they thought, you're just such a tremendous person of faith and trust. And really, it did require faith and it did require trust, especially for Stacy, my wife, on her part. But here's the thing, not as much as people thought. Because we were really financially well supported by lots of churches. It was a really secure church plant situation. And so not as much as people thought, but you know what? I just went ahead and let them think that because I want to be a faith guy. The truth is, I didn't know what faith was till I got here, 2008. I didn't really know what faith and trust was until I looked up and saw we had a $700 offering one week when we needed like $3,500 at the time. And then I saw it again. I didn't know what faith and trust was until we got $30,000 behind in rent with School District 49. Yeah, I didn't know what faith and trust was until I looked up 3 or 4 months later and half the people who were in the church when I got here were gone. Yeah, I didn't know what faith and trust was until Stacy and I spent all the money we had trying to keep our house in North Carolina from going to foreclosure, only to see it to go to foreclosure, lose all the equity, and we're still trying to recover from that. I didn't know what this faith and trust thing really was until what? See, I said I had faith. I said I trust God. But I'm going to tell you something. I didn't really know what that was until I didn't really have a choice. The only choice I had in front of me in the moment was to trust God. Let me tell you something. The majority of us we spend our lives trying our best to avoid ever being in that position, don't we? See, I'm not judging you. Me too. But I've said this before. I think just like the disciples in the boat, not Peter, the disciples in the boat, what we're really looking for is a faith that doesn't require much faith. We're looking for a faith that doesn't require any. What we're looking for is a bargain. Most benefits, lowest cost. The lowest possible cost. If we can, we just really want to stay in that boat. I'm reading a pretty fascinating book right now. One of the books I'm reading is called Dedication and Leadership. It's about 30 years old. It's written by Thomas Hyde. Thomas Hyde was a member of the Communist Party, devout member of the Communist Party for about 20 years. And he resigned. He got out of the Communist Party like in 1932 or somewhere in that area, and then he became a Christian. And so the gist of the book is it's about things that we as Christians can learn from the communists. And immediately some of us as Christians say there's nothing we can learn. Listen to this. In the book it says, communists believe that there's a great battle going on all over the world, which in the final analysis is a struggle for men's hearts, minds, and souls. I say we believe that. Hyde claims that never in history has a small group of people set out to win the world, change the world, and achieve more in less time than the communists have. I don't know about that, but it's hard to argue that any movement's been more effective in having devout followers. He says at the end of the book, in the book, I'm not finished with it yet, but the central distinction that he draws between a communist and a Christian is this. A communist understands from day one that the life they're signing up for is a life of sacrifice and action. Right? They're not going to stay in the boat. And we, Christians who follow Jesus, let's just be honest. We tend to follow Jesus up to the point of what? Sacrifice and real action. Listen, I'm not getting on you, me too. What I'm trying to help you see is this. Look, it would be really easy for us to label this moment with Peter as a failure when really it's preparation. Jesus is getting ready to start his church. He's getting ready to go up to be with his Father and hand this church off to guys like Peter. This is a step in leadership development for Peter. That's what this is, because shortly after Jesus is gone, hands the church off, the church is persecuted. Peter gets arrested, he gets brought in, and they say, hey, here's what you're going to do. You're going to stop talking about Jesus. You know what Peter says? Acts chapter 4. No, I'm not. He says, you can beat me, you can whip me, you can imprison me, you can kill me. I'm not going to stop talking about what I've seen and heard. I'm not going to stop talking about Jesus. He refuses. Can I tell you something? This moment of stepping out of the boat is preparation. It's him learning to put his faith and his trust in Jesus in action in his life. He's going to need that. And Peter ultimately becomes one of the boldest leaders that this movement that Jesus started on this earth has ever seen. It's just true. This is not a mistake for us to learn from. Peter is modeling something for us that is missing in so many of our lives. It's true. And this is going to sound weird hearing this in church, but this has been my experience. It's sad, but it's true. It's not about doing what most Christians do. It's not about doing what most Christians do. It's really more about doing what most Christians refuse to do. Sacrifice, trust, get out of the boat, and walk towards the mess. Could it be that's what we're missing? You make me brave. You call me out beyond the shore into the waves. We sang that too. He does. He does. Could it be this is what we're missing? Could that, putting this in place in your life and in my life, in your story and my story this year, would change the chapter that's going to be written this year more than anything else? I think we owe it to ourselves to think about that. Let's finish this up, okay? Verse 31. Immediately Jesus reached out his hand and called him. You have little faith, he said. Why'd you doubt? And then they climbed into the boat and the wind died down. Then those who were in the boat worshiped him. Of course they did. That's right, we do, right? We wait for the miracle. Yay, Jesus, right? That's what they did. They sang, truly you are the Son of God. Now here's the thing, okay? This is what we got to get this. Peter is not getting scolded here. Always read it that way as a kid growing up in church. This is not, Peter, you should have just been content to stay in the boat like the other guys. That's not what's happening here. I love the way Andy Stanley describes this moment. He says this is like when we're teaching our kids to ride a bike. You remember doing that? And you take off the training wheels and you run behind them, you're holding the seat. This is why you have kids when you're young, because when you get to be my age, it's terrible, right? That's why you let your kids teach your grandkids, because it kills your back. But you run down the road, and then finally there's that special moment where you let them go, and they're just pedaling, and poof, off they go until what? Till they realize you're not there. And then all of a sudden they look back, it's like speed wobble. And then, bam, they go down, they're crying, and you run over to them and you what? You little idiot. Maybe. That's why we need to do a sermon series on parenting, right? But you really don't do that. Why? Why don't we do that? Maybe we do. We need to hear a sermon on that. But most of us, we don't really want to do that. Why? Because we understand that falling and failing is a part of learning to ride a bike, just like Jesus understands. That Peter falling and failing here is a part of him learning to put his faith and trust in Jesus in action in his life, because he's going to need that, and you know what? We all do too. Last takeaway from the story today for us. The life we're looking for is outside the boat. You willing to step out? The life you came in here chasing after today is outside the boat. Are you willing to step out? What if this new chapter, writing a different kind of chapter this year, what if you becoming the version of you that you were created to be, and me becoming the version of me that I was created to be, requires us to stop following Jesus up to the point of discomfort, inconvenience, and sacrifice. To stop following Jesus at the lowest possible cost and to step out of the boat with Jesus and go where he wants us to go regardless of what it costs. What does stepping out of the boat really look like in your life and in your story? There's all kinds of examples for us that we could point to beyond this story today. This book's full of them. Go to Hebrews chapter 11. Read that chapter this week. Story after story after story. But I want to be more current today. You know what I'm thinking of? I'm thinking of Mother Teresa, who left the convent, the comfort of the convent, to hit the streets and care for sick and dying and dirty people. Yeah, I think of her. I think Abraham Lincoln fought really hard to eliminate slavery. I think of Martin Luther King Jr., who led protests and fought for equal rights for all people. And I think locally of John and Leslie Miller, our Crossfire partners here in town, left a very successful business to go and start a ministry to provide food and clothing for families in need in our community. Last year, they gave away over 1 million pounds of food. Right, I think of John and Leslie Miller. I think of Andy Stanley. Andy Stanley, his dad's Charles Stanley, First Baptist Church Atlanta. He's set. He's going to be the heir apparent to the throne. He leaves that to go start this church that unchurched people would like to attend. I think of John Eldridge, left this counseling practice, very successful, lucrative counseling practice, to what? To start this message, to get this message out across the world, this ransomed heart message to rescue the hearts of people. I think of Andrea Paulini, our partner at Musana in Uganda. She's living at home. She's got it sweet. She's a college student at CU Boulder, leaves it to move to Uganda to help people and orphans in Uganda. I think of Matt and Laura Parker of our church, started Exodus Road. Very successful, comfortable church ministry. Leave it to go into brothels and rescue victims of human sex trafficking all over the world. I could go on and on and on with story after story. And when you talk to these people, here's what they're going to tell you. It was freaking hard, and it still is. And it's messy, and it's dirty, and there's uncertainty, and there's worry, and there's fear, and there's times they look in the mirror and they say, what in the world am I doing? That's true, but you know what else they tell you? They tell you it's the best decision they ever made. That's what they tell you. And people look at them, still look at them and say, you know what? You're crazy. You're freaking crazy. You know what? I'm not so sure that's such a bad thing.
Here's to the crazy ones, the misfits, the rebels, the troublemakers, the round pegs in the square holes, the ones who see things differently. They're not fond of rules, and they have no respect for the status quo. You can quote them, disagree with them, glorify or vilify them. About the only thing you can't do is ignore them. Because they change things. They push the human race forward. While some may see them as the crazy ones, we see genius. Because the people who are crazy enough to think they can change the world are the ones who do.
That's a Steve Jobs quote, one of my favorite videos ever. Can I tell you something? At the end of the day, the bottom line is this. We cannot continue to do the things we've done and expect the results to be different. That's crazy. And here's the deal. If we want to write a different kind of story in our lives this year, this story entitled 2017, if we want that to be different, we got to do something different, both individually and as a church too. And here's the thing. I think we've stopped believing that we can change the world. I think that we've stopped trying to change the world. I really do. What have we done? We've huddled up. We've shut the doors. We've closed ourselves off. We hang out with people who believe what we believe. And we just hope, really what we're trying to do is not change the world. We're trying to survive the world until Jesus comes back or we make it to heaven someday. And here's the problem with that. This revolution that Jesus started is not over. And Jesus is out there. He's outside the boat trying to move this revolution, this movement, this mission and vision forward. He hasn't surrendered. He hasn't waved the white flag. You know what? We have. We got to be crazy enough to believe that we can change the world. Crazy enough to get out of the stinking boat. I'm telling you, DCC, we can change the world. We can change the world. I'm not being arrogant. You know why I say that? I'm saying it because I already see we're doing it. I see it in your faces. I see it in your lives. I see it in your stories. I see it in your marriages. I see it in your relationships with your kids. I see it in every single baptism video that I watch on that screen, that we're changing the world one heart, one life at a time, just like we're supposed to. It's happening here. Call me crazy, but it's happening in this place. Going into 2015, we made a decision to raise our missions giving from 10 to 11%. We couldn't afford to do that. We're getting ready to take on our full principal and interest payment in this building. We didn't care. We just wanted to trust, and we haven't looked back. This year, this month, we raised it from 11 to 12%. Our goal is to get to 15%, and then we'll see where we are from there. We're going to do that. Call me crazy, but it's true. What is that? It's changing the world. What would happen? How many more hearts could we reach through our partnerships with YWAM and Musana and Exodus Road and all the people that we work with across the world in Uganda or India or Southeast Asia or wherever it is that we're working on? How many more hearts could we reach? Right? Why can't we do that? Why can't we be? We've gone from zero to about $280,000 in missions giving in the last 4 or 5 years. Here's my question. Why can't we be a church that gives away $1 million+ a year? What kind of difference could we make with that? I'm going to tell you something. We can and we will be that church. Well, why can't we be debt free? We can and we will be. Changing the world. Right, this Easter, why can't there be more people in church in Colorado Springs, in this city, this Easter than ever before in the history of this city? There can be and there will be, and we're going to lead the way in that. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to give $5 to Springs Rescue Mission to help homelessness in our city for every person that comes into the building that day. That's what we're going to do. We're going to do that in a church. Not only that, our team, our creative team, which is great, we're creating invite cards with pictures of homeless people in our city, our homeless friends on them, that on the back tell what we're going to do. Help us help them is going to be the idea there. We're creating a really cool, compelling video to get people. We're going to give it to every single church in town that wants it, so all they got to do is plug their name on it and get their people to invite people and do the exact same thing. Not just changing our world, changing the world. We can change the world. I was in a meeting this past week with El Paso County Sheriff Elder and the Chief of Police and CSPD. They talked about the needs of our city and the problems in our city. And you know where we're really off the chart? It's sad, but suicide. I mean, Colorado Springs, we are such an outlier. When it comes to the size of our city and our suicide rate, especially teen suicide, oh my gosh, it's off the chart. I'm sitting here listening to this, and they're like, would you help us with this? And you know what I was thinking inside? We already are. Our student leadership team has been on this for probably over a year. In fact, about 6 months ago, when a teen in town committed suicide, the very first call that the school made was to Jason, our associate pastor here at DCC, who leads all of our student ministries. Changing the world. I think about all the hundreds, if not now thousands of conversations we've had with people who think God's finished with them. He hates them. He doesn't want anything to do with them, and there's no place for them in the church, and they're finding help, and they're finding hope, changing the world. I think of the hundreds of people we're feeding every week now with our food truck. Finding help, finding hope, changing the world. You know what else I think of? I think of our Sermon on Tap groups. Wait a minute, time out. You mean I can hear about and learn about Jesus while I'm drinking a beer? Yeah, you can. Changing the world. I could go on and on and on. Here's the deal. We believe that we can change the world. And we're going to continue to believe that. And we're going to continue to push the envelope. And we are not going to get tired, and we're not going to get lazy. We're going to be relentless in pushing the envelope forward, being all that we can, all things to all people, so that we can win some, so that we can change the world. We are not going to get comfortable, and we're not going to get complacent, and we're not going to sit back in our own boats waiting for the next miracle in our lives. We're going to get outside the boat. We're going to walk with Jesus into the mess, and we're going to hope that he will allow us to be a small part of someone else's miracle. That is going to continue to be the story in this place, and my question for you today as you're walking out here is this. How's your story going to read? How's your story going to read? Because whatever you do, whether it's here or somewhere else, everything in your life will change if you will simply do that, rather than sitting back in the boat and waiting for the next miracle in your life. If you step outside the boat with Jesus and allow him to allow you to be a small part of someone else's miracle, everything will change in your life and in your story. Most of us are sailing the exact same course we've sailed in years past. We're 1 month into this year. And that can change today. All you and I got to do is we got to decide. We're going to live the next 11 months differently. Let us help you. It's not too late. Discover your story. Experience Jesus and live on mission. I promise you, chapter 2017 can be the very best chapter in your life yet. If we want to walk on water, we got to get out of the boat. Let me pray for us. Jesus, come. Whew. Come, Jesus. And you talk about how the gate, the path is narrow and few find it. Help us to at least see it. Help us to see the path, Jesus, and we know it's the narrow way, and we know few choose it. You tell us that to really follow you means we deny ourselves and we take up our cross and we follow you. And we want to do that, but we really don't want it to hurt. I know me, I prefer a tiny cross, Jesus. It's not hard to carry. And I expect you to make that easy. Jesus, help us to have the faith and trust that it's going to take to get on mission with you. Help us to have the courage. Show us in our own lives as we walk out of here today, what does stepping out of the boat look like in my life and in my story? We need clarity on that. And then give us the courage just to take that step with you into the great unknown, Jesus. And even though it's unknown, we know, because you promise it, it is a step in the direction of this life to the fullest that you came to bring us. Give us the courage to walk with you into that. It's in your name we pray, Jesus. Amen. Hey, thanks for being here today. Real quick, couple things for you. Tonight is group link. So you want to talk about taking a step outside of the boat, the comfort of the boat. Here's one. Tonight, you need to do, we say this all the time in this place, life change happens best in circles, not in rows. I love it that you're here and we pack out the room and the rows are full, but you need to circle up with a few friends and do life together. And tonight's an opportunity for you to take a step towards that, okay? Try it out. Doesn't work for you, we'll retry it again. But you really, really need to be here tonight. So check the info booth or the garage. They can give you time and details. It's in West Auditorium. Love to be here and help you get connected in this place. The next thing is men's retreat. I know it's early, but guys, put this on your calendar. Mark the date right there, May 11th through 13th. And here's the deal. The 14th is Mother's Day. The 14th is Mother's Day. And I promise you this, and ladies, it's not a money-back guarantee, but I guarantee it. Okay, so here's the deal. Guys, I really believe this. The best gift that you can give your wife or your mother for Mother's Day is to spend up until Saturday at noon here with us at the men's retreat. We want to pack this place out. We're just giving you this notice so you can get it on your calendar. You can start signing up today. They can help you with that at the garage or the info booth too. Hey, if you got other questions about how to get connected here, go out, turn left. There's a room called the garage. If you want prayer, the screens to my right and my left. Right after the walkout song, there's going to be some nice people there to talk with you and pray with you. Last but not least, you want to partner with us financially. You want to be on mission with us financially. We'd love that, but we're not going to pressure you, put anything in your face. We're just going to hang some boxes on the wall by the doors, which we've already done, or you can hit our app or our website if you choose to give electronically. Hey, thanks so much for being here today. I'm kicking off a brand new series next week called Making Change. And so hope you'll come back and bring a few friends to that. I'll be out by the fireplace right after the service. You want to talk to me. Have a great week.
God. Place behind my chest. Made a lion that healed my broken heart. Made a man who pursued me from the start. Walked a million miles just to find the one I love. You came, I was wounded. You pursued, but I had gone. Made a lion that healed my broken heart. Made a man who pursued me from the start. I searched for something so like you. You called me own. I searched for something so like you. You called me own. Don't ever let me go. Met a lion, heal my broken heart. Met a man who pursued me from the start. Met a lion that healed my broken heart. Met a man who pursued me from the start.
I wandered through the darkness, wasting away. My soul was cold and hopeless, dead in the grave. Then like a river of life in a dry land, like a flicker of sight to a blind man, I saw the glorious light as it broke in. God of mercy and might, oh, you brought me back to life. You're the Lord of light, shining
Sometimes you gotta bleed to know that you're alive and have a soul. But it takes someone to come around to show you how. She's the tear in my heart. I'm alive. She's the tear in my heart. I'm on fire. She's the tear in my heart. Take me higher than I've ever been. The songs on the radio are okay, but my taste in music is your face. And it takes a song to come around to show you how. She's the tear in my heart. I'm alive. She's the tear in my heart. I'm on fire. She's the tear in my heart. Take me higher than I've ever been. Than I've ever been. Than I've ever been. Than I've ever been. You fell asleep in my car, I drove the whole time. But that's okay, I'll just avoid the hole so you sleep fine. I'm driving here, I sit, cursing my government for not using my taxes to fill holes with more cement. You fell asleep in my car, I drove the whole time. But that's okay, I'll just avoid the hole so you sleep fine. I'm driving here, I sit, cursing my government for not using my taxes to fill holes with more cement. Sometimes you gotta bleed to know, that you're alive and have a soul, but it takes someone to come around to show you how. She's the tear in my heart. I'm alive. She's the tear in my heart. I'm on fire. She's the tear in my heart. Take me higher than I've ever been. My heart is my armor. She's a tear in my heart. She's a carver. She's a butcher with a smile. Cut me farther than I've ever been. Than I've ever been. Than I've ever been. Oh, than I've ever been. My heart is my armor. She's the tear in my heart. She's a carver. She's a butcher with a smile. Cut me farther than I've ever been.
live in it? Do I live in it? So astounding. Love is an ocean, you can drown me. The sweet embrace, the lovely taste, I taste and see. I'm under grace, the place to be. It means I'll never need an umbrella. I'm cool in the cold, in the hot weather. Whether or never I ever understand, I'm a man in the hands of great plans. I stand with faith there in a life I never known to touch. And still outside my clutch, but I'm like, what's the dream of? What's the hope in? What's to die for? Live to no end. This is living. The life I've been given is a gift. If I'm a living, I'ma live it to death. So what's the dream of? What's the hope in? What's to die for? And live to no end. This is living. The life I've been given is a gift. If I'm a living, I'ma live it to death. Yeah.
This is living now.
Come set your rule and reign in our hearts again. Increase in us, we pray. Unveil why we're made. Come set our hearts ablaze with hope, like wildfire in our very souls. Holy Spirit, come invade us now. We are your church. We need
cover the mountains, the valleys below, with the breath of your mighty wings. All treasures of wisdom and things to be known are hidden inside your hands. And in this fortunate turn of events, you asked me to be your friend. Ask me to be your friend. And you fill all my
So lay down your burdens, lay down your shame. Oh, I'm broken. Lift up your face. Oh, wanderer, come home. You're not too far. So lay down your hurt, lay down your heart, come as you are. Move straight, come sit at the table, come taste the grace. There's rest for the weary, rest that endures. Earth has no sorrow that heaven can't cure. So lay down your burdens, lay down your shame. Oh, I'm broken. Lift up your face. Oh, wanderer, come home. You're not too far. Lay down your hurt, lay down your heart. Come as you are. Come as you are. Fall in his arms. Come as you are. There's joy for the morning. Oh, sinner, be still. Earth has no sorrow that heaven can't heal. Earth has no sorrow that heaven can't heal. So lay down your burdens, lay down your shame. Oh, I'm broken. Lift up your face. Oh, wanderer, come home. You're not too far. So lay down your hurt, lay down your
my name is Kyle. Welcome to Discovery Church, and thanks for spending part of your weekend with us. Grab your coffee or donut, come on in and find a seat. We'll get started with the service in just a few minutes, but before we do that, we want to let you know what's happening around here. First up is a great opportunity to find a group of people just like you that you can do life with.
If you want to get connected in community at DCC, then GroupLink is the event for you. GroupLink is a relaxed, open house style environment full of friendly people who would love to help you find the right group for you. You'll have the opportunity to check out all the different groups available at DCC. If you see a group that interests you, then get to know the leaders. They would love to talk to you. Plus, it's a good chance for you to figure out if they're a weirdo. If you find any groups that you think are a good fit for you, all you have to do is get signed up. We hope that you will join us for GroupLink on January 29th at 6:30, because life happens in circles, not rows.
If you want to come to GroupLink tonight, and we really hope that you do, it would help us out a lot if you would let us know that you're coming. The easiest way to do that is through the DCC app. So pull out your phone, get signed up right now, and we'll see you at GroupLink. Next up, if you're a guy, then you're going to want to pay close attention to this next video. Yes, we know that that's Mother's Day weekend, so we will make sure you are all done by lunch on Saturday so you can get back in plenty of time to hang out with the moms in your life. So put this event on your calendar right now, ask for time off work, do whatever you need to do to make sure that you can be there. We've made this super easy for you. Just go to the Events tab on the DCC app, tap Men's Retreat, then the calendar icon, and it'll add it directly to your calendar. Believe me, the DCC Men's Retreat is the best event for guys that we do all year, and you're not going to want to miss it. If you want to stay in the loop with what's going on at DCC, make sure to download our app. It's got so many useful features packed into one convenient location. We would also love to connect with you on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. We still have people coming in, so if you don't mind, please move towards the middle of your row to make room for them to find a seat. That's it for this week, so please stand up and join us for worship.
There is a river where goodness flows. There is a fountain that drowns sorrow.
Promises you made, you make me brave.
crashes over me, crashes over me. For you are for us, you are not against us. Champion of heaven, made a way for all to enter to your love. It's way after way, crashes over me.
You guys can have a seat. This is amazing grace. This is unfailing love. That you would take my place, that you would bear my cross, that you'd lay down your life so that I would be set free. We're going to move into this time of communion. And this is a time where we remember that we've been rescued, that we've been redeemed. It's a time that we remember that the last 6 hours of Jesus' 33 years on earth, he spent hanging on a cross in between two criminals. And when it was completed, he let out with his last dying breath, "It is finished." And with that last dying breath, those last words, we live. Our worship, our joy, our salvation, our hope, everything in this place is rooted in that one phrase. It is finished. And without that, we don't have the same song to sing. So what's going to happen are some trays are going to come up and down the aisles with a little wafer and a cup of juice. Take one of each of those and take them on your own time. We're not going to come back up and do it all together. But let this be a time where you sit and remember that it is finished, that he knew what you would do before you did it, and he still got on the cross and said, "It is finished." If you're new here, you're going to hear some cracking of some cups around the room, and that's just our way of expressing the joy and the salvation of "it is finished." Also, if anything that I'm saying makes you uncomfortable or you think it's crazy, there's no shame in that. Just pass the tray on to the next person. But let's pray and enjoy this meal together. Jesus, thank you for your amazing grace and your unfailing love. Thank you for taking our place and dying on that cross for us. God, thank you for saying that it is finished and knowing how screwed up and messed up we were and forgiving us in that moment and feeling the weight of those sins on you. Jesus, thank you. Thank you so much for the cross, and thank you so much for sacrificing your life for us to live and breathe. Jesus, we love you, and it's in your holy and precious name that we ask this prayer. Amen. Would you guys stand up and sing with us? You unravel me with a melody. You surround me with a song of deliverance from my enemies, till all my fears are gone. I'm no longer a slave to fear, 'cause I am a child of God. I'm no longer a slave to fear. Yes, I am a child of God. From my mother's womb, you have chosen me. Your blood has called my name. I've been born again into your family. Your blood flows through my veins, and I'm no longer a slave to fear. Yes, I am a child of God. I'm no longer a slave to fear. Yes, I am a child of God. I'm no longer a slave to fear. Yes, I am a child of God. I'm no longer a slave to fear, 'cause I am a child of God. I Jesus, thank you for making us your children. God, thank you for pulling us out of that slavery. Jesus, thank you so much for every sacrifice that you've made for us. Jesus, thank you for making us your children. We love you. We love you. We love you. In Jesus' name, amen. You guys can have a seat.
Hey, so before I say anything else, how about Christine in the band today? Was good? Yeah. I call her little one. She's like 22 years old. It's amazing how much talent God has packed into her. So thanks for giving up for her. Hey, good morning to you. Hey, welcome to this place, this crazy place we call DCC. It is so good. We're so pumped and jazzed that you're here with us today. So good to have you here with us today. That's always true every single week, but it's especially true if you're new. And if you're new, a few things we want you to know before we go any further today. The first one is this: all of your stories safe and welcome here, regardless of how it reads. That's true every single week. You belong with us, regardless of what you believe, even if it doesn't happen to be what we believe in this place. And you're in a room today full of people just like you. Really hope you felt that and you experienced that already, and that you want to come back, hopefully, and do this again with us in the future, hopefully even next week. So special warm thank you. Thanks for taking a chance on us to you if you're new. And, of course, a special welcome to all of our friends watching us online right now, too. Good to have you with us. You know, about 2 weeks ago on Saturday night, my daughter Spence. So if you don't know this, I have 4 daughters. Pray for me. Ages 25 down to 15, and so I've lived in a sorority house now for the last 25 years. It's been great. Anyway, my third daughter of the 4, Spence, is 18. She's a senior at Pine Creek High School. She's a basketball player. So about 2 weeks ago, they had a home game. An away game, but it was here in town. So it was an away game in Colorado Springs. And we were playing a team that really we should have beaten pretty bad, but really we barely won. So that wasn't good, and the team didn't play well. And Spence, she didn't play well either. And I've talked about it before, you know, how she, so just before the season, like 6 weeks before the season started this year, she dislocated her left kneecap, which wasn't good. And then she rehabbed it. And then about 3 or 4 days before season started, she did it again. And so she's playing through her senior year with a pretty extensive brace on her left knee. And then a week before this particular game that I'm talking about, she sprained her right ankle. So this night she's got on a right ankle brace, a left knee brace, and she's sick. She's got a cold. So needless to say, she's not really on her game. And she played really, really hard. And I just want to tell you that my daughter, she's sitting down here. I'm just so proud. Her warrior princess heart has been more on display for me to see her senior year than it ever has before, because she's only about 55% of total health and speed and strength, but she's just gotten through it and playing it out anyway. So anyway, 2 weeks ago Saturday, my oldest daughter Sydney and her husband Keith and my grandson came to town that day because they were going to go to the game and then have dinner with us afterwards. So if you haven't seen my grandson lately, there he is. Yeah, you can say, "Oh, he's so awesome." Looks a lot like his grandpa, doesn't he? Actually, no, but I love him. I mean, he's a lot better looking than me. But anyway, so they come to town, and because part of the reason was that was going to be Saturday, 2 weeks ago, was going to be the day for the grand reveal. So we're going to find out what our new grandbaby is, and we found out that we've got a warrior princess on the way. So we have a granddaughter. Yay, that's coming. Yeah, into May. There she is. There she is. She's sucking her thumb right there. I don't know if you can see that. Isn't that awesome? I mean, look at that. She's already better looking than your grandkids. I don't know. It's just the way it goes. Sorry about that. Hey, so anyway, they're all in town. It's great. Families together. But we go to the game. Boo, not a good game. And come home. Spence goes upstairs to shower after the game. Then we're going to eat dinner. And so Sid's worried about her. Sid, my oldest daughter, her older sister, said, I'm going to go up and check on her. And she goes up to check. And then Stacy goes up, and they're gone. Then they come down and say, Dad, Greg, I think you need to go up. I'm like, oh. So here we go. I'm going into the tunnel of chaos. If you have teenage daughters, you know what I'm talking about. So I go into her room, and sure enough, there she is on the bed, just kind of sitting on the bed, and hands over her eyes, and she's crying. And it's like, hey, babe, what's going on? And she was just kind of a mess. And it had so much more to do than just basketball. It was so much bigger than just basketball. So we started talking, and she told me how she's been feeling really flat lately and kind of unsure and uncertain and not really happy and just unfulfilled, that she doesn't have the tenacity and drive and this beast mode thing in basketball or really in any other area of her life. And as her dad, I'm sitting here and I'm processing all this, and I realize, here's my girl, and she's losing heart. She's losing heart. And so it was an opportunity in that moment for me as a dad to practice what I preach. In fact, it was an opportunity for me to practice what I was getting ready to preach about 10 hours later the next morning, a couple of Sundays ago. So I talked about the week before, I talked about less religion, more Jesus. That's what we really need heading into this year. And then I was getting ready to, the very next morning, say, hey, we got to dive into our stories. We got to look at all the things that have been done to us, said about us. We got to invite Jesus into that. We got to get this healing thing going in our lives. And now, here I sit, and I've got an opportunity to practice what I preach. And so we started talking. I started asking questions. We started going after stuff, walking into the mess. I prayed for her. I prayed with her, and we went downstairs. Things started to get better. In the end, though, she had a great conversation with her coaches, a couple of her coaches who love her and care about her so much more as a person than who she is as a player, and they've been great for her heart. And then Mom and Dad, we've been more engaged in that. We've been praying a lot for her and with her, and things are getting better. All of that to say, all of that stuff together has changed the trajectory. It changed the trajectory of the path, of the chapter that was already being written in her young life this year. And if you haven't been around here, that's what we've been talking about in the series that we're wrapping up today called Chapter 2017. Because the big idea or the theory we're operating under is this, that every single one of us, in each of our lives and stories, none of us want this to be another year of more of the same. We don't, whether it's occupationally or relationally or educationally or financially or with our health. We go through a laundry list. We don't want this. In some area of our life, we don't want this to be more of the same. We want to make this a different kind of year. And so we've spent the last 3 weeks here together talking about how we do that. And so in thinking about this today and wrapping up this series, I'm thinking about this and I go, you know what? Here's the part that we really haven't talked about. And it points to the vision of this church that you find yourself sitting in today. Our vision is to redefine Christian, to change what people think when they hear the word Christian. And that needs to happen, especially in our city. But not just people outside the walls of church. We want to change what people outside the walls of church think when they hear the word Christian. That they don't think condemnation or judgment or hypocrisy or mean or nasty or judgmental, whatever the words that come to mind, that they learn to start thinking things like love and acceptance and grace and mercy and those kind of things. But we want to redefine Christian, not just for people outside the walls of the church. As I thought about wrapping up this series, I go, wait a minute. Maybe this word Christian needs to be redefined too for the very people who call themselves that. I think that's a part of what we're missing. And it is not about coming up with a new definition. It's simply about getting back to the definition that Jesus started with in the first place. And so if you and I really want to write a different kind of chapter in our lives this year, we need to talk about that. And so that's why I want to spend the rest of our time together today doing just that as we wrap up the series. We're going to Matthew chapter 14. So if you got a Bible and, hey, you brought it, it's like, great, turn to Matthew 14. If you don't have a Bible, but you think, man, it'd be cool to have one, they're on the back tables there. If you're up front, maybe a little awkward, but if not, grab one on your way out. Take it home with you today. Love for you to have it as a gift. You can hit our app on your phone. You can hit YouVersion. You can read off that piece of paper, or you can just read with me on the screens, all right? So here we go, Matthew chapter 14. We're going to pick up in verse 22. Immediately, Jesus made the disciples get into the boat and go on ahead of him to the other side while he dismissed the crowd. And after he dismissed them, he went on a mountainside by himself to pray. Later that night, he was there alone, and the boat was already a considerable distance from land, buffeted by the waves because the wind was pushing against it. The wind was against it. Okay, so anytime that you're reading the Bible and it says immediately, it kind of says, okay, immediately after what? And that's why it's a good idea. Read the whole chapter, Matthew chapter 14 this week. Trying to start reading your Bible, it's a good place to start. But if you back up here, if you have a Bible, you back up here, here's what you're going to see. Immediately before this, Jesus took a few pieces of bread and a few pieces of fish, and he multiplied them. He did this great miracle, and he fed over 5,000 people. And these disciples, these guys he's pushing into this boat, these guys got to be there and hand that stuff out. It was a great thing. I mean, it was so incredible that the crowd that was there and got to experience this miracle, they wanted to make Jesus king right there in the moment on the spot. It's like, impromptu inauguration. Right here, Jesus is going to be king. That's what they wanted to do. Now, I can't prove this, but I think that's part of the reason Jesus put the disciples in the boat. Because the disciples have to be thinking, they were just a part of this. Listen, if Jesus becomes king right now, that's kind of cool, isn't it? Because I'm one of the people closest to Jesus, which means I immediately become what? I become royalty too. And that's a good thing. And Jesus is like, nope, get in the boat. I'll meet you over there, right? That's the context. That's this moment in the story. So as they jump in this boat, that Jesus puts them in, they're probably a little disappointed with the whole king thing, not going to happen, but they have to be basking in the glow of what just happened. I mean, this was an incredible thing for them to be a part of. So here's the short statement. It's a good day to be a follower of Jesus. It's a good day to be a follower of Jesus until what? Until they get 3.5 miles, John tells us, out into the middle of the Sea of Galilee, and they hit the waves and they hit the wind, and they're rowing and they're rowing and they're rowing as hard as they can, and the boat's going nowhere. Stop, pause, question. Does life in the church ever feel that way to you? You're rowing harder and harder and harder, and the boat you're in just seems to be going nowhere. Does life in the church ever feel that way, or has it ever felt that way to you? If your answer is yes to that, me too. So let's start with this, okay? It is okay to admit this in church. The boat that we are in often seems to be going nowhere. Now, that could apply across the board in our lives. You could think about your marriage boat. It's like, my marriage is going nowhere. You could think about occupationally or educationally or relationally or financially, all this stuff. I want us to think about the church boat, the Jesus-following boat. The church boat that we're in often seems to be going nowhere, and it's not about effort. You're trying really, really hard. You're rowing and rowing and rowing, utilizing all the tips and techniques that we've taught you to utilize in the church. You're reading that Bible, and you're memorizing those scriptures, and you're quoting, and you're journaling, and you're attending church like you've never attended in your life. All those things are going back, are great things, and you're doing it, right? But you're rowing really hard, but you just don't seem to be moving. And it's confusing because you're diving into your story. You're like, here it is. I know that hurt. I got all this stuff that was said to me, said about me, done to me, and it's on the table, and I'm inviting Jesus into that, and I'm experiencing some healing in my life, just like we talked about in week 2, and you've experienced Jesus. You've invited Jesus in your life, saying, I want to make you Lord and Savior of my life. You confessed your sin. You've repented your sin. You've been baptized to tell the world, hey, I'm following Jesus. You've done everything that you've been told to do, just like we talked about last week. You've done all that. And you're rowing really hard, and you're doing all this stuff, but life seems to be going nowhere fast. You ever felt that in church? Yeah, me too. And it's not only confusing, it's frustrating. It's frustrating for us because we think we're where Jesus wants us to be. I'm where Jesus wants me to. I'm where I'm supposed to be. I'm in the boat. And I wonder as I think about this, and this place that we all tend to have or tend to hit in our journeys of trying to follow Jesus, I wonder if we're seeing the boat correctly. I wonder if we're seeing this boat that we find ourselves in, this boat that Jesus points to, the boat that Jesus says, go and sit in that, with all these Jesus followers around us, right? I wonder if we're seeing that boat correctly. I wonder if we're seeing it for what it is and what it's really intended to be. Maybe this will help us think through that, all right? Watch this. Yeah. Yeah. First service didn't clap, so way to go. I love you. There's a big distinction there, isn't there? Oh, yeah, there is. When I'm on a cruise ship, I'm the customer. I am the mission. When I'm on a battleship, guess what? I'd better be on mission. See, our hearts are God's primary mission. But the life that every single one of us came in here chasing after today requires us to live on mission. I just read a book called All the Gallant Men. It's by a survivor of the USS Arizona that was hit in Pearl Harbor. And there's only 5 remaining survivors. One of them lives here in Colorado Springs. His name's Donald Stratton. His son Randy's a friend of mine. It's an amazing story, but you know the story of Pearl Harbor, right? We weren't ready. We were surprised. It was a surprise attack. The men, when the Japanese started bombing, the men were running to their battle stations. They weren't on mission and ready to fight. We know what happens because of that. We just sang a song just a few minutes ago. It's one of my favorite songs of all. I'm no longer a slave to fear. I'm a child of God, and that is true of you regardless of how your story reads, and that's why we all get so fired up when we sing that song. But there's a lyric in that song that I love, and it troubles me at the same time. It says this: you rescued me so I could stand and sing. And that's true, right? That's what we do. God rescued us. We got a lot to stand and sing about. It's okay to raise your hands. And we stand and sing. The problem is, as I observe it, that's where most of us church people leave it. He rescued me and I stand and sing. How about this? You rescued me so I could stand and sing and worship you for that, yes. But so that I could also help you rescue others. That's a part of this thing too. See, we got this core value called rescue in this place, and it goes like this: to be rescued, then to rescue. It's what I have tattooed on my right arm in Hebrew. And it's that last piece, then to rescue, to help rescue others, that we most often miss. And if we miss that, here's the deal: it's going to often feel like we're rowing, we're following Jesus, and we're rowing without any results, just like the disciples in this moment, in this story. All right, let's keep reading. Verse 25. Shortly before dawn, so they're out there, they're rowing, they're going nowhere. Shortly before dawn, Jesus went out to them, walking on the lake. When the disciples saw him walking on the lake, they were terrified. "It's a ghost," they said, and they cried out in fear. "Ah!" But Jesus immediately said to them, "Take courage, it is I, don't be afraid." "Lord, if it's you," Peter replied, "tell me to come to you on the water." "Come," he said. Then Peter got down out of the boat, walked on the water, and came toward Jesus. But when he saw the wind, he was afraid, and beginning to sink, he cried out, "Lord, save me. Save me." They think they've seen a ghost, and so they cry out in fear. "Ah!" And Jesus is like, "Chill out, guys, it's me." And Peter says, "Well, Jesus, if it's you, let me come out and walk on the water to you." And Jesus says, "Come on. Come on out." And so as the story tracks on at this point, where does the camera go? The camera follows Peter. He climbs out of the boat. We watch him as he starts to walk towards Jesus. But here's what I want us to do today. I want us to pan the camera back to the boat. Because, yeah, Peter gets out of the boat, but where do the majority of the Jesus followers, what do? They stay in the boat. There is so much application for so many of us in this moment, in this story. Are you ready for it? May sting a little bit, but the truth is this: the majority of us never leave the boat. The majority of us, we just never leave the boat. I mean, it's obvious here that these disciples, the majority of the disciples, the closest followers of Jesus, choose the safety and security of the boat over being outside in the mess, in the wind and the waves outside the boat. And if we are honest with ourselves, come on, if we're honest with ourselves and we really look behind the curtain in our lives and take a deep assessment of our lives, we prefer to stay in the boat too. Now, I think you can read this story, and I think I've done this before in my own life, growing up in church. I think you could literally read this story and believe and convince yourself that the 11 disciples made the right decision here, and Peter was the one that made the mistake. See, I grew up in a church experience, and maybe this wasn't yours, but I grew up in a church experience that it was never taught, but it was certainly caught by me. Here's the impression I walked away with. Peter is the disciple that you least want to be like. That's kind of my understanding. Why? Because he was a bonehead, right? He followed Jesus, and after that, he constantly makes mistakes. Jesus looks at him one time and says, "Get behind me, Satan." I don't want Jesus to call me Satan, right? He calls him Satan, for goodness sake. Peter pulls out his sword and boom, cuts off a dude's ear. And Jesus is like, "We're not going to do that." Takes the ear and puts it back on. Right? He's like, "Peter, please stop," right? Peter, you're going to deny me 3 times. I'll never do that. Boom, what's he do? He does just that. This guy made mistakes. He's impetuous. He's impulsive. He just puts his foot in his mouth over and over and over again. And so in this moment, knowing who Peter is, it's like, here he goes again. I'm sinking. Jesus, blah, 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 please save me. I mean, why would anyone leave the comfort and security and the convenience and the safety of a perfectly good boat? Most of us won't. Most of us, just like the majority of the disciples here, we prefer Jesus join us in the comfort of the boat rather than stepping outside of the boat where Jesus is and walking through the waves with him in the discomfort of the world around us. And if you don't believe me, just look at the church. It's what we do. We huddle up. We say we're no longer slaves to fear, but we huddle up in fear. We hang out with people who believe what we believe. We isolate ourselves from the world around us, people who need the help and hope that we ourselves have experienced in Jesus. But oh no, it's dangerous out there, and it's messy out there, and it's uncertain out there. And we don't understand why they do the things they do because we don't struggle with that ourselves. And it's just safer and cleaner and a lot better right here for us inside the boat. And that's why the majority of us never leave it. And here's our problem. Here's where this blows up for us. We claim we trust God. We claim we trust God. We claim we want to be people who trust God. I'm going to learn to trust God more. But here's the ironic thing. We expect to learn to trust God, there it is, without ever putting ourselves in a position where we ever really have to. Isn't that true? We say, oh, I trust God. Yeah. Without ever allowing ourselves to be in a position where we really even have to trust God. Have you ever done that? Has ever been your life and story? Me too. Me too. Back 15 so years ago, I left the practice of law, 10 years in the courtroom, to go into ministry, to go plant a church in Raleigh, North Carolina. And when we did that, when we made that decision and we made that move, people looked at us like, wow. And they looked at us like, you have such tremendous faith. And you have such tremendous trust in God to leave your life and the lifestyle that you had and the house and all the stuff that you had to go into ministry. Oh my gosh, you just have such tremendous faith and trust. And I'm not saying it didn't require any faith and trust, because it really did, especially for Stace, my wife. She was really scared. But the reality is it didn't require as much as people thought that it did. Because we had a bunch of churches come around us. It was a financially secure church plant. It was a great model. And we were going to have a salary. Yeah, it wasn't going to be what we used to make, but still, we were going to be okay. It didn't require as much faith and trust as people thought it did looking at it from the outside. But you know what I did? I just let them go ahead and think that. Because I like being a faith guy. The truth is, I didn't know what faith was till I got here. 2008. I didn't know what faith and trust was until I looked up one Sunday and we had a $700 offering. Back then, we needed about $3,500 just to break even. I didn't know what faith and trust was until I looked up and we're $30,000 in debt to District 49 in rent, in back rent. Yeah, I didn't know what faith and trust was until I saw another $700 offering. I didn't know what faith and trust was until I looked up like 3-4 months into this thing, and half the people who were here when we got here, the 85, 90, 100 people, however many there were, they were gone. I didn't know what faith and trust was until Stacy and I, after about a year and a half of making double payments, lost our house to foreclosure in North Carolina. All the equity in that, we're still trying to recover from that. Now, here's the thing about that season of my life. I said I trusted God. I said, I trust God. Wouldn't be here if I didn't trust God. But I didn't know what that really meant until I was in a position where I really had to. I had no other choice. All I could do was trust God. Let's be honest, the majority of us try our best to live our lives in such a way that we avoid ever being in that position where we have to trust God. And I've said it before, and I'm not judging you, me too. We, like the disciples in the boat, what we're really looking for is a faith that doesn't require much faith. That doesn't really require any. We want a bargain, right? This is a bargain. It's like best benefits, lowest cost. That's me. Faith at the lowest possible cost. That's what I'm after. And that's why, if we can, we want to just stay in the boat. I'm reading a pretty fascinating book right now. It's called Dedication and Leadership. It's about 30 years old, and it's written by a guy named Thomas Hyde. Thomas Hyde was pretty high up in the Communist Party for 20 years of his life. He was a communist. And then he gets out of the Communist Party. I think it was like 1932, if I'm right, somewhere like in there. And he becomes a Christian. And so he writes this book. The gist of this book is what we Christians can learn from the communists. Now, a lot of Christians will go, there's nothing we can learn from the communists. We're right, they're wrong, right? We're good at that. But hang on. Because it says this, communists believe that there's a great battle going on all over the world, which in the final analysis is a struggle for men's hearts, minds, and souls. Sounds like we believe that too. And Hyde argues in the book that never in history has a small group of people set out to change and win the world and achieve more in less time. I don't know that he's right about that, but it's hard to argue that there's ever been a movement with more dedicated followers than the communist movement, more willing to take things into action. At the end of the day, in the book, the major distinction, I'm not finished yet, that he draws between a communist and a Christian is this. A communist comes into the party, into the movement, knowing it's going to require sacrifice and action on their part from day one. Right? In other words, they're not going to stay in the boat. And the Christian, right? This life of following Jesus, we tend to follow Jesus up to the point of what? Sacrifice and real action in our lives. We prefer to stay where? We prefer to stay in the boat. It would be really easy for us to read this story, this moment in Peter's story, and see it as a failure. See this moment as failure, but it's not. It's preparation. This is preparation. See, Jesus knows he's getting ready to leave. After he's raised from the dead, he's going to spend a little bit on earth, and he's going to go up with his Father, and this thing called church is going to get started, and he's going to look to a few men. Peter's going to be one of them to lead this thing. And he knows what it's going to take. This is a step in Peter's leadership development. This is what this is. So Jesus does go to heaven, church starts, gets persecuted. They arrest Peter, they bring him in. This is Acts chapter 4 if you want to read it. And they say, stop it. Stop talking about this guy Jesus. Do you understand us? You know what Peter says? No. Nope. You can kill me, you can beat me, you can whip me, you can lock me up. I don't care. I will not stop talking about what I've seen and what I've heard. No, I'm not going to stop talking about Jesus. He refuses. Now see, this moment in this boat, stepping out of this boat, putting his faith in action, putting his trust in Jesus in action in his life is what? Is preparation for moments to come. It's a part of his leadership development. Peter's ultimately going to become one of the most bold leaders to ever lead this movement that Jesus started on this earth. And so, no, this is not a mistake for you and me to read about, oh, don't want to do that, and learn from. Yeah, you should have just kept looking at Jesus. No, that's not a mistake to be learned from. Peter models something here for us that unfortunately is missing in so many of our lives. And this may be weird that you're hearing this in church and you're hearing a pastor say this. I get that. But this has been my experience. It's sad, but it is so, so true. It is not about doing what most Christians do. That is not the life that I'm pointing you to. It is not about doing what most Christians do. Unfortunately, it's really more about doing what most Christians refuse to do. Sacrifice, trust, step out of the freaking boat and walk toward the mess. Could it be that this is what we're missing in our lives? You make me brave. You call me out beyond the shore into the waves. We just sang that too, and he does. Could it be that this, more than anything else, putting this in place in our lives and story, would do more than anything else to write the kind of chapter that we're all really looking to write this year? We owe it to ourselves to think about that. All right, let's finish this thing up. A couple more verses. Verse 31. Immediately Jesus reached out his hand and called him. You have little faith, he said. Why'd you doubt? And when they climbed into the boat and the wind died down, then, I love this, then the church people, then those who were in the boat worshiped him, saying, truly, you're the Son of God. Isn't that what we do? Yeah, it's what we do. Now, I want you to understand something here, because I misunderstood this for years of my life as a kid growing up in church. Peter's not getting scolded here, right? I read this as Peter's getting, he's getting scolded by Jesus when he gets back in the boat. The other disciples are like, see, Peter, you're an idiot. You should have never done that. Peter's not getting scolded here. Jesus is not saying to Peter, you should have been content to sit in a boat like the rest of my followers. They were right, you were wrong. No. You know what this is like? And I love this. Andy Stanley described this one time, and I've just hung on to it. This is like you and me trying to teach our kids how to ride a bike. You remember that? It's definitely for young people. I'm going to tell you that. Because it breaks your back, right? It's like that's why you have grandkids, so their parents can teach them how to ride bikes. So, but you hold on to the seat and you run along behind them forever, and your back is breaking, so you're running like this. But that magic moment comes where what? You let them go, and there they go. It's a fantastic moment as a parent. There they go until what? Until they turn around and look and see you're not holding on anymore. And then what? Boom, and down they go. Little speed wobble, bam, they go down. And then you what? You run up to them, you say, "You little idiot." Some of you do. That's why we're going to do a sermon series on parenting in the future. So, you don't really do that. Why? Because you understand that falling and failing is a part of learning to ride a bike, just like Jesus understands. Getting out of this boat and putting his faith and his trust in Jesus in action is a part of Peter learning how to follow Jesus too. He's going to need that. And we all do too. So last takeaway from this story for you and me today. Pretty simple one. The life we're looking for is outside the boat. The life we're looking for is outside the boat. Are you willing to step out? That's the question. What if a different kind of chapter this year? What if you becoming the version of you that you were created to be, and me becoming the version of me that I was created to be, requires us to stop following Jesus up to the point of discomfort, inconvenience, and sacrifice. It requires you and me to just stop following Jesus at the lowest possible cost and to get out of the boat with him and walk with him regardless of where he leads us and regardless of where it costs. What does it look like for you today to step outside the boat? What does that look like in your life and in your story? There's all kinds of examples for us in the Bible. Hebrews 11, go read it. There's a laundry list, right? And we could talk about lots of people. I want to be more current than that because I think of people like Mother Teresa, who left the comfort of a convent to get on the streets and care for sick and dirty and nasty and dying people. I think of Abraham Lincoln, who fought really hard to eliminate slavery. It cost him something. I think of Martin Luther King Jr., who led protests and fought for equal rights for all people. Yeah, I think of John and Leslie Miller. Let's dial this thing a little closer to home. They're our partners at Crossfire here in Colorado Springs. Very successful business. Gave it up to start a ministry so that families in need in our community could have food and clothes. Last year they gave away over, I think it was like 1.3 million pounds of food. I think of them. I think of Andy Stanley. Andy Stanley, heir apparent to First Baptist Church in Atlanta. His dad, Charles Stanley, big shot, right? He's just going to follow his footsteps. No, he leaves that to go start a church that unchurched people are going to like to attend, to reach people who are far from God. I love it. John Eldridge's got a successful counseling practice right here in Colorado Springs. He's killing it. He leaves it to get this ransomed heart message out across the world so that more and more and more hearts can be rescued. I love that. Andrea Paulini, our partner at Musana, she's got it made. She's living with her family up in Boulder. She's a sophomore at CU Boulder. Life is good. College life, living with mom. It's awesome. She goes to Uganda and she never leaves. She gives her life to helping the people and the orphans of Uganda. I think of Matt and Laura Parker. They're part of our church. They started Exodus Road. They're successful, very comfortable church ministry. Left it to walk into brothels and rescue victims of human sex trafficking all over the world. And if you talk to any of those people, here's what they tell you. It was so hard, and it was so challenging, and it was so uncertain, and it was so difficult, and there was fear, and there was worry, and there were a lot of tears, and there's so many moments where they looked in the mirror and they said, what in the world am I doing? But here's what else they would tell you. It's the best decision I ever made. And people looking at them from the outside look at them and go, dude, you're crazy. Lots of people lining up to tell them that they're crazy. You know what? I'm not so sure that's such a bad thing.
Here's to the crazy ones, the misfits, the rebels, the troublemakers, the round pegs in the square holes, the ones who see things differently. They're not fond of rules, and they have no respect for the status quo. You can quote them, disagree with them, glorify or vilify them. About the only thing you can't do is ignore them, because they change things. They push the human race forward. While some may see them as the crazy ones, we see genius. Because the people who are crazy enough to think they can change the world are the ones who do.
That whole thing is a quote by Steve Jobs. I love that. It's one of my favorite videos ever. The people who are crazy enough to think they can change the world are the ones who do. At the end of the day, Here it is. We cannot continue to do the things that we've always done and expect the results to be any different. That's crazy. And that's true in our individual lives as we write this chapter. It's going to be entitled 2017. It's true for us as a church too. Somewhere along the way, we've stopped believing we can change the world. One of the greatest tragedies, I think, is somewhere along the way, we, the church, we've stopped trying to change the world. As we've what? We've huddled up. We've insulated ourselves. We're out of fear, and we're just trying our best not to change the world. We're trying our best to survive the world and wait till Jesus comes back or till we're in heaven someday. We're just doing the best that we can to survive. And the problem with that is that this revolution that Jesus came to start on this earth is not over. This movement is not over. Jesus is there. He's outside the boat, and he's wreaking havoc, and he's moving this revolution and this movement and this vision and this mission forward. He has not surrendered. He has not waved a giant white flag. You know what? We have. We have. We've got to be crazy enough to believe that we can change the world. We've got to be crazy enough to take that first freaking step out of that boat. DCC, I'm telling you, we can change the world. We, right here, can change the world. And the reason I say that's not because I'm arrogant. It's because we're already doing it. I see it. I see it all over the place. I see it in your faces. I see it in your smiles. I see it in your marriages. I see it in your relationships with your kids or with others. I see it in every single baptism video that we watch on that screen over and over again. It's happening one heart, one life at a time, just like it's supposed to. We can change the world. Back in 2015, we made a decision, leadership of our church, the elders made a decision. We're going to raise our missions giving from 10 to 11%. The timing was horrible because that's when our first principal and interest payment on this building was due, which we couldn't afford. We trusted, we did it, and we never missed a beat. This very month, as you're sitting here, we raised it from 11 to 12%. Right? It doesn't make any sense. We're trusting. We're not going to miss a beat. We're going to keep going until we get to 15%. We're going to see what God wants to do from that point forward. Why? Because we're convinced we can change the world. We're convinced that we can change this world. We've gone from zero to last year about $280,000 in mission givings in the last 4 years. Here's my question. Why can't we be a church that gives over $1 million away every single year? I'm going to tell you something. We can and we will. We can and we will. We're going to change the world. We can be that place. Why can't we be debt-free? What could we do if this church was debt-free? What could we do with that? We could change the world, and that's what we're going to do. What would happen? Why can't there be more people in church on Easter in this city than Colorado Springs, this city, has ever seen in its history before? Why can't there be? You know what? There can be and there will be, and we're going to do everything we can to make that happen. We're going to give our partner, Springs Rescue Mission, $5 for every person that walks into this place on Easter. Just like we did last year. $5 for every person to help our homeless friends. Yeah, that's great. Invite all your friends. Invite all your friends. Bring it on. I want to write a check for $50,000. We can't fit that many people in here, but it's going to be fun. All right, but we're going to do that. But not only that, check this part out. We are creating invite cards with pictures of our homeless friends in the city on them. It's going to say, help us help them. That's all it's going to say on the front. On the back, it's going to say, just show up at a church on Easter. Show up at the church. We'll give money in your name, $5 for every person that comes in here. And we're going to make those cards. And you know, our team around here, they're pretty talented. They're creating that. They're creating a video that's going to invite all people in all churches. Anybody that wants it in town, we're going to make it available to them so they can get their people inviting too. Because we're not just trying to change our world. We're trying to change the world. This past week, I was in a meeting with Sheriff Elder here in El Paso County and the Chief of Police, CSPD. They're talking about the needs of our city and the uniqueness of Colorado Springs. And they said this is the one thing they ask us to help them with more than anything else. This city, you know, our homicide rate's really, really low for a city our size, all that stuff. Where we are an outlier, just totally and freaky weird, is this, with suicide. Off the charts. Teenage suicide, off the chart. And so the sheriff and the chief of police stand up there talking to some pastors and they said, would you help us with this? You know what I was thinking? I was thinking, man, we're already on it. Our student leadership team has been diving into this issue for over a year now. In fact, when there was a kid about 6 months ago who killed himself at a school. It was terrible. The first person that school called was Jason, our associate pastor who oversees all of our student leadership. We're changing the world. We're changing the world. I'm telling you. I think of all the hundreds, if not thousands of people now that we've had a conversation with that goes like this. God doesn't want anything to do with me. God's finished with me. If you knew my story, There's no place for me in the church. You know what? They're finding help and they're finding hope. We're changing the world. I think of all the hundreds of people we're feeding now every single week that are hungry on the streets of our city. We're feeding them every single week, finding help, finding hope, changing the world. You know what else I think of? I think of Sermon on Tap, our Sermon on Tap groups. Yeah, yes, you can learn about Jesus and what it means to really follow Jesus while you're drinking a beer. Changing the world. And I could go on and on and on. Listen, we believe with everything we have in this place that we can change the world, and we're going to continue to believe that. And we're going to continue to do everything in our power to push the envelope. And we're not going to get tired, and we're not going to get weary, and we're not going to give up. We're not going to do that. We're going to keep doing everything we can to be all things to all people so that we can win some, so we can change the world. We're going to push the envelope forward. We're not going to get complacent, and we're not going to get comfortable. We're not going to sit back in the boat and wait for the next miracle here. We're going to get outside the boat with Jesus, walk through the waves where he leads us, and we're just going to really hope that we can be a small part of somebody else's miracle. That is the life that every single one of us is looking for, and this is going to continue to be the story of this place you find yourself sitting in here today. And so here's the question for you. How's your story going to read? How's your story going to read? You really want to mix it up? You want to change things up? All you really need to do is that. Whether it's here in this place, doesn't have to be here, or someone else, or somewhere else, you need to simply do that. Instead of sitting back and waiting for the next miracle in your life, get out of the boat and try to be a small part of someone else's miracle. I'm going to tell you something. Your life will never be the same. We are 1 month into this new year. And the truth is, for most of us, we are sailing the exact same course that we've sailed in years past. And all it takes to change that is a simple decision. You and me deciding together today, we're going to live the next 11 months of our lives differently. It's not too late. Let us help you with that. Discover your story. Experience Jesus. And live on mission. I promise you that chapter 2017, regardless of what you're going through, how your story reads as you sit here today, chapter 2017 can be your best chapter yet. If we want to walk on water, we've got to get out of the boat. Let me pray for us. Jesus, tough stuff. And I know so many times in my life, Jesus, you have to look at me and go, really? Because I'll just be honest, I want all the benefits, every single benefit of being a follower, of following you at the lowest possible cost. Jesus, I want it to be easy. And you say, narrow's the path and few find it. And so many times in my life, I've missed that. You say, if we really want to follow you, you see, you got to hate your father and mother and your brother and sister. We know you didn't mean hate, but in comparison to our love and our dedication to you, that's what you're pointing to, that we have to deny ourselves, take up our cross. And so many times in my life, Jesus, I don't mind that as long as that cross is not too heavy. Come for us today, Jesus. What is getting out of the boat, taking that next step in this journey with you, what's it look like? And it's scary, and we're afraid, and it seems risky, and there's uncertainty involved in that. Help us to see it. Help us to do it. Help us to realize that it's the path to this life to the fullest thing that you came to bring us. Help us to trust that that is true and just to simply get out of the boat and follow you. So come, Jesus, lead us in that. In your name, amen. Hey, thanks for being here today. A couple things quickly. First one is this. If you want to take a next step, okay? If you want to take a next step, I want to encourage you to come back tonight. I know it's Sunday night, but Super Bowl's next week, and it's Pro Bowl. Who cares? So come back tonight, because we talk all the time about the life we're looking for is found in circles, not in rows. I love these full rows and the room full and all that, but it's really doing life together with a few other people, and tonight's going to be an opportunity for us to help you do that. So please come back tonight. Info booth or garage, they can give you the details and all that of when to be here, but come back. Let us help you do that. The second thing I want to say is men's retreat. Guys, here's the date. Go ahead and put it on your calendar, and here's the drill, okay? It's Mother's Day weekend. It's Mother's Day weekend. I know, okay? Trust me in this. I'm not going to make a money back guarantee, but I'm going to make a guarantee, okay? There you have it. Guys, if you will come, it'll be the best gift that you can give your wife or your mother. What you experienced there in that time together. So we're getting it out in advance, 3 or 4 months, because we want to fill up Bear Trap. So please, sign. You can start signing up today. But mark your calendars. Make sure you're there. I'm going to be there the whole time. Men's Retreat's one of my favorite times of the year. So put that on your calendar. Hey, if you're looking to get connected around here, you want to know more about other steps or next steps or all that, go out, turn left, room called the garage, over to the left of the fireplace. You'll see it. Great people, smart people to help you with that. If you want prayer, there'll be people right after the song, the walkout song, to my left here or over to my right underneath these big screens. Last but not least, you want to partner with us, get on mission with us financially. Love that, need that, but we don't pressure. We just hang boxes on the wall, or you can hit our app or our website if you choose to do it that way. Hey, thanks for being here today. I'm kicking off a brand new series next week called Making Change. And can't wait to get it started. Hope you'll have a great week, and we see you back next week. I'll be out by the fireplace if you want to talk to me. Have a great week.
Oh,